Hello everyone! Woo! Welcome to the episode. Welcome to the recording of I'm pissed. I was going to this video a bit earlier. A lot of things happened. Happy Ostara, everyone! Or Happy Easter, the most boring way to put it. It was stolen from us, let's be honest. But I must confess, I do feel rather naked because I am performing right now in front of a live camera. And I have no gloves. Unwears, who cares? You're not going to see that. But, not yet anyway. But, yes, I have no gloves, so I feel completely naked. But honestly, I'm so happy to be here with another episode, with another video. What I'm going to talk about, there's a few things I actually wanted to talk about, a few things that I actually did for this season. And I think this past, week or two. But I'm so happy. Why? Because it's not only me that is here, but I'm also joined by my beautiful and lovely co-host, Grimmy! Hello, Grimmy. Say hello, Grimmy. Yes, Grimmy. You're excited? Me too, Grimmy. Why? Because we actually met someone. Yes? No. Not like that. Not like that. No. Unfortunately, no. They're not ready for it, trust me. We actually went out and we've been, gallivanting around the city and doing a whole bunch of things, and a lot of things happened. My car recently has a power steering problem, so I think there's a leak in it or something, so I have to put power steering fluid in that fuck almost every morning or every day that I go out and make the rounds. So that's something rather nice, I hate it. And because it is the holiday season, there is no one really open till I think the day after. I'm recording this on the day of, and if you can tell by the lighting here, it is rather dark. I'm recording this at night because I thought, you know what, it's so appropriate. It is a Sunday. Today I usually do a little offering for the great god Apollo. Unfortunately, however, the day sort of just flew by, but I was rather thankful for it because I was like, you know what better day, what better way to commemorate and honor the great god of the sun by just being out there in his glory. And I was 100%. We get a bit closer. I feel rather far from you. No, we have to get closer. So, I decided, you know what? Today's Easter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dress up rather nice, kind of okay. Not like this. No, this is something that I decided to put on after. I went outside naked. I was wearing a sort of green, what's it called? There's a specific name for it. Almost like a Henley kind of shirt, completely solid colored, a long sleeve, with not a high collar, but a standing collar, I suppose. Olive green or armor green, sort of. And I had a brass bauble clock. I can actually show you what it looks like. I actually keep it in a bit of a chest here. Let me see if I have it in there. Hold on, I might have to actually scale something for you. Excuse me. No, here it is. Alright, I'll be on my best behavior, promise. Okay, yes, you saw my legs. Not all of it there. You're not ready for that either. Yes, so this is what I was wearing. This was a little nice, lovely little clock, and I sort of wore this for my whole witch rounds, and I was like, you know what, it's Easter, but let's be honest, it's Ostara. So I was like, I'm going to be out there in a rather refined pagan outfit. And I decided to wear this little thing here. If you can see it or not. How is that? Good? Yes. So I decided to wear this. I had it around. I mean, I obviously can't do it now because I'm wearing it, but it was a bit, a bit more halfway down. I was doing it that way. But I thought, it's a lovely thing to wear. It is a lovely day outside. It was about mid-50s or so, high 50s. I have to slow down my speech because I am slurring, because I have so many things on my mind, so many things I want to say. I apologize for that. And so I pretty much made the rounds, and I went to Carrabba's, in sort of Italian grill place, pub, or whatever you want to call it. I've never really been there before. Maybe once when I was very young, so I don't remember any of it. And I was like, well, I'm craving a type of Italian kind of cuisine today. And I was like, I'm not going to OG. Fuck Olive Garden, honestly. The only thing good about them are their breadsticks, and their breadsticks aren't even that good. So I decided to go to Carrabba's instead. It was rather close to where I was, and I was rather curious. I've heard good things about it, though I've never really gone, personally. So I decided to go. I go inside and, it's very nice. They have the bar out there as soon as you walk in. And I was just standing there in front of the desk, waiting to be, approached or seated. But then she comes up. She's like, "How are you?" I'm like, "I'm good." She's like, "Okay, let me see if I can get you in here somewhere." I was like, "Would it be okay if I sat at the bar?" She's like, "Oh, absolutely." I was like, "Well, splendid." So I decided to walk over to the bar. I sat my lovely ass down. And they, hold on, I have to put a little hair strand up front. I feel too, that's better. Yes, that's right. Oh my god, it fucking shines, bitches. So I apologize. I decided to go to the bar, and I sat down, waited for a bit, and I told them what I wanted. I had something called the chicken brine. If you're at Carabas, if you've been to Carabas, you know what the fuck it is. I've never had it before. The chicken brine. I decided to have grilled asparagus as a side. And then they brought with it some, some garlic bread. I'll tell you how that comes out. Actually have a picture here of the entire dish. It's lovely. But what is on this dish, I'll go to this side. What is on this dish here, you have the center plate. You have essentially the chicken brine, essentially grilled chicken with goat cheese on top, believe it or not. Let me see here. What else do we have? We also have a sort of like, I guess, diced tomatoes, some basil. There's supposed to be like a lemon base, and it was there at the very bottom. It was almost like light glaze over it. The chicken was rather well done. The asparagus I ordered on the side is in there. I had it cut up. I cut it up myself because I'm not a savage. Off to the side, you have the Caesar salad, which is what I ordered on the side. It comes with croutons and your Caesar ranch dressing. They don't really taste like Caesar, but whatever. And then the basket behind that is where they keep the bread. It's like a small little loaf of bread, oval in shape, and it was brilliantly warm. It was nice and soft, and they had cut it into like slices. Not all the way though, unfortunately, but it was cut. So I just sort of took that out, and they had a little dish, a little flat plate, and they sort of put the olive oil there with a bunch of garnishes and garlic there, and little spices. And you sort of dip the bread in there. Oh my god, I loved it. I ate the entire thing by myself, might I add. Okay, not the only thing I can eat whole. I ate the entire thing, and I was good. I didn't feel super bloated or super full. I was completely satisfied, if not a little bit more than satisfied, and I was so pleasant by it. The bill was this. So I was like, okay, did I overdo it? A slight bit. But I was like, you know what? Whenever I go to a new establishment, I always make it a point to try out the cuisine. Usually, what I do when I first go to an establishment is that I order an appetizer, I order an entree, and then I order something else on the side. I want to sort of, taste a bit of everything to get a better scope. But I wanted to, save some money. We're pretty much in a recession. Thanks, Trump, for that. It is what it is. It is what it is. I didn't vote for him, but you know who did? That's right. She fucking did. I know she did. Okay? Thanks, Melinda. This is your fault. I don't give a fuck. So, that is where we're at. So, there's car problems, things like that there. Haven't been dating. I've sort of been in the pool. I've had people offer wonderful services to me. I've been more than tempted, but I have so much paranoia. I guess some body image issues. Who doesn't, honestly? And it's just because I had to sort of keep myself, I guess, protected or hidden from such a long period of time. It sort of did something to me psychologically where I don't know if I could actually feel comfortable around anyone else. I'm sort of trying to work myself through that, but it is rather hard to sort of break out of your comfort zone. I don't feel sexy around anyone. I feel fine by myself, and since I first started this channel, I think several weeks ago, I was I was heavier in my weight, and so I decided to do something about it. I have lost approximately, I want to say, close to 40 pounds since I've been recording these videos. When I first recorded these videos, I was perhaps around maybe 210, perhaps, or 220, around there. It didn't look it so far. My body sort of, balances everything out. And I've been measuring myself, and presently, I weigh, well, not kind of the fucking food I ate today. I weigh approximately 165. 165, bitches! I lost that much weight. And it took about, I think, close to a year by just dieting, mind you. All I was doing was simply, taking in a bunch of protein, Quest bars, 20 grams of protein. There's, I believe, 14 to 15 grams of fiber per bar. They are very low in carbs. They only have 180 calories. And, the sodium, you have to contend with that. They have to do something for the flavor. But I was essentially eating those, 2 of those a day, standing up for 8 hours, walking around from my job and stuff. And then, of course, eating a lot less, being a lot more calorie conscious. I was sort of making sure I was under the 2000 mark, and I was sort of eating calories and counting whatever I ate, and just satisfied with that. And then you just drink liquids till you're full. But what helps is if you avoid certain liquids, things like sodas and juices specifically with high fructose corn syrup, try to drink something herbal. You can drink your herbal teas. You can even drink regular sweet tea. The brand I love is Pure Leaf Tea. It is essentially just brewed black tea with some cane sugar, the least amount of processed shit possible, and you can still treat yourself. Just have, a nice glass of that maybe once a day. Drink mostly water. And when it came for lunch, for example, I would just eat the 2 bars, perhaps that would be it, or something else, snack on the side. I try to keep myself under 500 calories throughout the day. And then when I decide to eat dinner, I decide to eat it up to maybe like 1,000 calories or so, which seems like a lot, but realistically, if you add it up in the morning, if you consume about 500 calories or so, you perhaps burn some of that. And by the time you get to your 1,000 calorie mark, you'll feel full and satisfied. The protein helps with that, keeps you full longer. And then you'll only be at about maybe 1,500 or 16, depending, or maybe even less than that. And then you'll have your entire day's worth of meal and you'll feel fine and not really have the need to eat. And then you sort of want to, avoid eating at least 3 hours before you go to bed. And then once you go to bed, you sleep. The more sleep you get, the better. But I only get about 6 hours of sleep. You sleep, you wake up, and then you repeat, essentially. You drink lots of water and you sort of follow that routine. You keep it up for a long time. You start to notice that the protein starts taking effect. You start having more gases. They stink like the devils, honestly. But you start to just burn fat, sort of naturally. And this is with me without even exercising, without doing anything like that. So this is something that I essentially suggest to everyone out there. I'm pretty sure it's going to work. And it wasn't really that hard to do. I virtually did no exercise at all. I didn't even go to the gym. All I did was eat 2 bars of Quest protein bars because they have a high amount of, it doesn't have to be Quest, but it's what I found that has a good amount of nutrients. It has a good amount of fiber, protein, low carbs, low fat, all that shit. Okay? That's what you want to look for. I essentially ate those. And then after I ate that, I had my meals for the day. The protein helps with help regulating the intake. Okay, it actually fills you up quite a bit. Just eat 2 of those. Go easy on what you eat for the rest of the day. And then if you want to eat a meal, you can eat maybe a 1,000 calorie meal, perhaps 1,200. You want to eat less calories as possible. Because if you're in that caloric deficit, it allows your muscles in your body to burn fat easier. And then you start burning fat faster. Okay? It will take a couple months, but after you follow this procedure for a couple weeks and you're consistent, you will start to see a change. And then the longer you keep it, the more of a change you'll see. And so I will be able to, I'm sort of close to the ideal weight from, the body mass index thing. And it's a whole shebang. So I am very proud of myself for doing this, but it is something that I think is easy enough and, accessible enough for everyone to do. Okay, so just keep it in mind. You don't even have to go to the gym. Okay, it's about dieting. Just eat less and eat well. Okay, that's what I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to say for that. Anyways, there's a lot of things going on. I will perhaps post some pictures quickly. Here is, I believe, my setup for following the last video, I was talking about how there's occult things in places like Walmart or the super centers. Absolutely. So there's this thing. There's this brand called oh my god, what the fuck was it called? Oh my god, something in time. It's like in the kitchen section, right? Time. Is it Tame in Time? Something? I don't know. It's a sort of brand. It's at Walmart. Oh my god, this light is glaring. Oh my god, hold on. I'm like shining like a fucking. Okay. I apologize for the lighting. It's, moved to an apartment. I have to get it all sorted out. So anyway, there's this collection called Celestial Collection. Oh my god. I fucking love it. It's at Walmart. It screams occult. It screams astrology. I'll put a picture up. Here it is. Okay. This is the collection I've pretty much been using on my new place. I've put some in the kitchen, some other places, and I've essentially used what they have available for part of the decor. It helps feel a bit more witchy. It's also a bit more refined. It's a bit ambivalent. You can have it in a certain spot. It can come across somewhat nautical. It can come across somewhat spacey, not really, but it can also come across kind of witchy because it has a sort of, a sort of star element to it. I mean, it's called Celestial Set, the collection. So that's what I've been using. And it's rather cheap compared to everything else. Some of the stuff can get a bit up there, but I was able to find things for rather cheap, under $10 or 10 at the mark. Okay. For example, I was able to get placemats. I don't have anything on me right now, and it's a bit dark, so you won't be able to appreciate the color as much. But I will put pictures here if I can find any. And it's like a beautiful navy blue with almost like a gold thread strung through it to make the shapes of the sun, of the stars, and of the moon. Right? Very celestial. Okay, it's a dark blue on it, and it's like this cute little pattern everywhere. It just screams like, I don't know, like 90s, like you know what it reminds me of? Do you guys remember Casper the Friendly Ghost? Okay, I don't think it's when Casper meets Wendy. I think it's in the first movie where Casper's in there, right? And he's sort of, going through the castle. The girl gets there and he starts to give her a tour. And then they go to this room, and in the room, it shows like a whole, if I'm remembering it correctly, there's like this fucking, I don't know, like, it's like a weird celestial pattern. I've seen it in movies. It's like a nice blue. It's got the stars drawn on it. It just called me to that. And I was like, it's so fucking charming, this set. And it is super cheap. It's at Walmart, for example. And I've even used it for you can use it as like an altar cloth if you want. Absolutely. And you can even use it for a backdrop for shit. They have tablecloths with that, rectangular or circular. They also have placemats for it. They have mitts for that shit. They even have little kitchen towels for it. And they have the entire collection for that. And I was like, this is brilliant. It's like a beautiful navy blue. And I've been using that as a furore, as an homage to it. And actually, what helps as well is because I'm sort of going for a different theme this time. I'm going for a nice white for the room. Sort of like a nice, almost like a Parisian countryside kind of thing. But very nice, very humble, very, very, very demure. I'm sort of going for that sort of thing. So I have everything white with some accents thrown in there. It makes it look clean, elevated, airy. And if you give it that nice blue splash from the tablecloth and everything else, it just ties it nicely. So if I can put any pictures up, I would do that. Now, I was planning on uploading this episode today for Easter, but it is late as fuck. And it takes time to edit and everything else. So when this comes out, you'll be the first ones to see it. Hopefully the day after. Fingers crossed. So, the bread and butter, what I want to talk about. So, I believe it was last week, I attended the History of Witch Bottles by Daniel Harms. Daniel Harms is let's just say he's sort of an occultic researcher. I believe he's sort of into the Wiccan circles, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say maybe Gardnerian, perhaps. I could be mistaken. And he was essentially giving a lecture on witch bottles. He was giving a history about witch bottles. And he was teaching this class at the Cleveland Buckland Museum of Witchcraft. It's a historical museum. I'll put it here. There's a picture. Hello. The caretaker there of the museum. His name is Stefan. I've spoken with him many times. I visit every now and then. I'm sort of a regular customer there. He's a very kind man, very knowledgeable, and he's also into the Wiccan circles and things like that. He has his own, I think, covenant group that he's a part of, and he helps, oversee it, everything there. And honestly, if you ever come to Cleveland, that is probably one of the first places you should go if you're sort of a practitioner. It's a very small shop. It's a very small museum. It has a little shop when you enter in. You go in there, it has the shirts, the hoodies. It also has, a nice table full of crystals of different kinds. It has a bunch of books around. It even has a little area for the tarots. It even has bells there for spirit calling. There's a whole section for candles. There's little figurines for deities like Baphomet or Hecate. There's wands as well like that. There's little ensembles and necklaces you can wear by the counter. There's a bunch of little tiny baubles inside. There's dimes from different countries. There's things that have been, I think purified and things or baptized. There's stickers, there's pins, there's a whole bunch of shit. They have a lot in that little shop. But past the doors of that shop is where the museum is located. And there's a lot of historical artifacts there. Things from Wicca, things from the founders and from the people there that sort of oversee that sort of thing. They are the ones that essentially donate to the museum and they bring them there. And there's staff from, prophets, from shamans there, things that are ceremonial, things that are spiritual. They even had a Dybbuk with a demon in it. I don't know where it went. And they have so many artifacts. They have, they have the Black Phillip thing mounted up on the wall. They have a staff, a ceremonial staff that was given to them, I think, by the founders or by the higher ups within the Wiccan organization, within the Gardnerian, or I think the Alexandrian part of Wicca. I forget what the name is, but it's a brilliant thing. However, back to the thing. So I decided to go there because I was like, well, you know what? I'm curious. This is on a day that I'm able to attend. And I'm very curious about this Daniel Harms. And he was selling a lot of books there. I will put the books here. These are the books that they were selling. And some of the books here are being published by Llewellyn. I will put the names of the books here because I do not remember what they are called. I think there's one from Path to Oberon or something like that. And then he has something else. And I was able to get one of these books. And the book that I got was called Witchbottles, History, Culture, and Magic. This is what it looks like. By Daniel Harms. Okay, if you can see that. And guess what? Okay, he was such a kind person. I even had him sign it. Look at that. He signed it himself. It says, to Leonok of Songs and Sorcery, thank you. Daniel Harms. So beautiful. So this book here is a rather simple take, but he essentially put a sort of summarized things of the history of magic as well as practical applications for to use witch bottles. Now, there was something that I think was interesting about the whole witch bottle thing, and I think I should do a longer video when it comes to witch bottles after I read this book. I've only sort of glanced at it, to be honest. That'll probably be at a later date. But what was interesting is because he sort of had, I think, 3 qualifiers when it came to what makes a witch bottle a witch bottle. Because when it came to sort of witch bottles throughout the entire, I think, history of it, I think the earliest forms of the witch bottles, I believe they said, was something I think that was found, I think, in Egypt, way far back or something like that. I believe he was talking about Egypt, about the history and things like that. But, there's a lot of it that, sort of goes across traditions. And this is something that has been consistently found throughout history in different cultures. You will find them inside of houses under the foundation. You will find them outside. But their applications seem somewhat, varied. There was no sort of correct way to essentially use a witch bottle because it sort of depended upon the person that was essentially using it. Okay? But just a quick thing here. On the acknowledgements, unsettling the contents of forward witch bottles. Let me see. Introduction, origins of the witch bottles. And then it goes into witch bottles in Scandinavia, North America, today's witch bottles in the media, discussion, conclusion. And then all that thing. So it's not a terribly long book. It's a rather small book. It's thin, but it's filled with some vital information. So let's see, for example, let me go forward here. Let me see. So let me go into the origins of the witch bottle, page 28. I will spin there quickly. So this is a sort of a small excerpt. I don't want to sort of, take out all the credit from him. I think some of these books are things that were released recently. Other ones he just released, and I think he's had it for quite some time. But this is sort of a just one of the pages from the books of this one, Witch Bottles by Daniel Harms. Okay, around the year 300 BC, two or more individuals in Athens undertook a magical ceremony. They purchased a miniature stew pot of a type often used for funerary offerings. After painting a red oak wreath patterned around the middle, they etched dozens of personal names, men and women, local and foreign, into the sides of the pot. Inside, they placed the head and feet of a chicken, the parts of the bird with the least amount of meat. A doornail transfixed the pot, puncturing the base, and a coin, later corroded beyond recognition, was placed over the pot's mouth. Our mysterious creators then buried the whole item beneath the floor of a sculptor's studio near the agora. Would this be considered a witch bottle? I would argue against this. Even if we set aside its distance in space and time from the other examples, the many names etched into the ceramics suggest that this is a spell intended for judicial or political purposes, likely against those working in the building under which it was buried. This is very much unlike the witch bottles, which were usually interpreted as reversing hostile magic, not perpetuating it. Our Greek groupings include many items similar to those used for funeral rituals, and its main parallels from the period are the saucer pyres, buried protective assemblages consisting of tiny ceramics and burnt items commonly employed at the time. The example should encourage us to look beyond our initial impressions to find the differences and nuances in the material. So, yes. So, there's like a short thing. So he sort of goes into the bread and butter about the witch bottles. And what was interesting about this one is that sort of it goes in depth, but it's something I think was unique because, for example, he said that traditionally they would use sort of any bottle they had at their disposal. For the longest time, the ones that they were finding were the ones that had sort of, face carved onto it. Some of them had occultic, meanings. They could have things like, faces of the people that made them, faces of the people that they were commemorating. Maybe if it was a bottle or a jar with the visage of Apollo or a sort of type of deity on it, you could sort of essentially put things in there as an offering to this deity. Sort of like it's like a perpetual blessing. If you had a bottle that had the image of, I'll show you, for example, I have something here perfectly, okay? I use this for my offerings, for example. This is a tiny little jar, a tiny little pot urn, with the image of Apollo on it. And it was a gift of my sister's that was given to me when she went to Italy and to Greece around that area. And she found this there, this little tiny urn. And so I would use the urn and I would place incense sticks in it and I would sing and I would do praise and things like that as an offering to Apollo. And the incense is acting as a catalyst for the blessing and it is also providing the blessing. The jar itself can contain the blessing within it. If I had a larger jar, I would put a whole bunch of contents in it and then you can even seal it. And so you can say this is for the Apollo. May it fill his stomach with, blessings. May it fill his stomach, his essence with goodness and with love and all that shit. You can also do the reverse as well. If you want to sort of guard against sort of deities, you would do something like that. I don't know how that works against deities, but you can try it. Or perhaps you just want to simply use the bottle and say, look, by the power of Apollo, I infuse his power and his image to fuel the spell, to fuse whatever it is. You could sort of use a witch bottle for sort of any sort of thing. But the caveat he had for the witch bottles, I believe made it a witch bottles, that it would have, I think, 3 core components or ingredients in it. It would have, I believe, a nail of some kind, screws. It would have urine. And then some other type of, I think, bodily fluid that the person had or whatever. So it would have a piece of the person, the urine, and I think nails or something in it. Charms or the like. Every now and then, some of the witch bottles he even brought there. He brought some examples, some in-person examples. Some of them were very old. They had things like roots, or they had things like rosemary inside them. They had things like urine. Some of them had things like blood, things that had period, or whatever it was. There was something that each witch bottle had that sort of served to work for protective purposes. However, witch bottle can also be used for baneful magic. And there's a lot of things. I mean, it sort of originates as well from like a big cauldron. A cauldron is essentially a giant witch bottle that you're sort of, infusing everything in there. It's sort of getting the materials sort of blend together into like a synthesized liquid that you can then put inside of a bottle. He went on for like maybe over 40 minutes. It was a long lecture. It was good to know. I didn't bring anything to take notes, but honestly, I did fall asleep a little bit. I felt rather guilty about it. But I went to see him and I was happy that I did. And I got to meet him there. We shook hands. He gave me some pointers for the books that I'm writing, which I'm happy about. And I think, honestly, I should probably at least bring one of the songs that I've worked on and something else on here. I was extremely paranoid to do so because I was worried about things like copyright or anything else. But I was like, you know what? This is a channel about songs and sorcery. I have lots of songs that I write about sorcery, about spirits, about deities. And I believe it is important that I sort of, bring these things up in order for us to, sort of go into it. Because this year, hopefully, I will be performing these songs live. So if there's a recording of it, it's going on this channel, okay? But that's the bread and butter of all the things that I have been doing so far. And it is exhausting. Searching for jobs, a new career. And I think I might be going back to college, back to school. I hate it. But if you want something better out there for a job or career, you have to get better education. Although, there's no reason why these places can't just fucking teach you what you need to know, and then you can just work there. You have to go through a fucking doorman to get into whatever it is that they want. And also, side note, when I was getting ready, I decided, you know what, I want to do away with the hoodie because it's getting rather hot, so I have to wear something different. The thobe that I had before, I threw it out. I was like, I don't want this shit. It is old. I don't care for it. I want something else a bit nicer. But I was like, look, you know what? I have to dress for the occasion. I think I'll be better off wearing a bandana the next time. This fucking bow tie, it took me a half hour more to tie the damn thing. I had to go online to find a video that essentially taught me how to fucking tie. I used to know how to tie them. Then I look at the video. It was so fucking confusing. The man on he was cute. It was 2 minutes. I was getting so frustrated. I felt like hurting myself. I think it was just how I was brought up. Have you guys ever had that? You're trying to learn something because you want to learn how to do it. You're not doing it right, and you feel like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I'm stupid. You start hitting yourself. Is it just me? I was so mad. I felt like cursing. I did curse. I was going to throw hexes everywhere at myself. I almost hit myself. I was so mad. Oh my god. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Pray for me. Oh my god. No, honestly, I'm so happy all of you guys are here. Forgive me for not uploading. Honestly, I've been going through some things. A lot of things. I had a reading done and I think it did help me. And I've been sort of coming to terms with a lot of things. I've been working with Hermes consistently, and consistently every Wednesday, he's been doing things for me that I was like, this is incredible. I never had it with the other guy. So, it is what it is. Thank you so much, Hermes. I love you. I honor you. Thank you so much for what you're doing for me. And Apollo, of course, for this beautiful day you gave me as well. For this beautiful dinner out there glowing. I wore like my little sun thing there. Forgive me if I do your offering today. But I am very happy and very grateful. Okay? But, yes. End of the video. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Remember to be kind, rewind, and to practice in excess greatness. This is your host, Leonok. And Gritty. And until next time, everyone. Goodbye.